right, hey guys, Sam back with you here on Tuesday, August 7th. We're middle of the day. Seemed like a good time to do an update on the S&P. So I've got the ES here. This is a continuous contract where we have the front month here is what we're focusing on. But just to do a quick review, as we've looked at the ES several times here, we're working off of the assumption that the 2016 low here is creating this five-wave structure, and we've got a good 1, 2, 3 is in as we are now approaching those wave 3 highs. We went through the ABC. We had the truncated C wave here giving us a potential fourth here as I have it labeled. And now it looks like we're pushing up for potentially now what could be a significant top. Now, I'm not one for trying to pick tops, so I'm not proposing that we're going up here and that this is going to be a big time sell. It may be, but that's really not what I'm trying to get to here. It's just a matter of trying to identify where we may look for a pivot, and then that would give us the first building block to set up a potential short trade. So let's just do a little building here. Let me get this off here. Let's just do a little bit of recon here. So if we think about this on the assumption that this is a good 1, 2, and this was our 4 into our 5 of 1. So allowing for that, sorry. Sorry guys, I've been sick all week, still just on the tail end of that. So here, there's our wave 3, and as again, we've looked at this before. So A wave, we get this double bottom down here, and then our C wave, we get the 38 damn near to the tick before we push off and what looks like this push towards a new high. So just from this, here we've got an algo target up here at, 3075. So that's pretty substantial upside from where we sit here at 2860. So there certainly could be some more juice in this. Now, I certainly, well, as you know from previous videos, I'm not a breakout trader. I would never buy that. I would never buy a break of that pivot. I just see that as just a bull trap here. Now, it doesn't mean that it couldn't. I'm not saying that I don't need comments that if we do this, that wait a minute, what do you know? It's just that for me, the risk is not right there. So the risk profile. So granted, there's upside, but where are you wrong, right? At what level? Then you're just trading off of your pocketbook rather than the market. So I would propose to you that this is not an area to be buying, but perhaps looking for the next opportunity to be a buyer. And for that, we're going to need a retracement. So let's dig in over here. Now I'm on an 8-hour just to give you that larger term scale. Well, let's go, we can go, let's go to a 2-hour here and see if that gives us the definition that we need here. So let's bring this down here. So I've got this set of median lines here that I'm working off of this low here, and I may have to tweak these just a little. This is common when you change time frames. You got to tighten these down a bit. Looks like we're not bad here. Let's get this right on it here. Okay, so that looks all right. Get you right on there. All right, so this is our proposed wave 4 low here. We've come into, we had a very sloppy diagonal here. You can see we have 1, 2, 3 deep overlap of the 1, and then we get our kicker in the 5th to give us a 1, a nice clean ABC into the 2. All right, so from that, let's start squeeze back in here. So we have so I've got a modified shift on here. It looks like it's framing the market relatively well here, particularly with regards to the upper parallel here. So we've had this testing as we've come back to the median line here, and we've gotten through it pretty considerably here and gotten to the 0.25. But let's look here and see if we can make some sense of this. So I'm going to take this off now just to clean up the chart. So it looks to me like what we have is a diagonal. We're finishing this wave with a diagonal, right? Well, we don't know that we're finishing. What I should say is that from this wave 4, we're experiencing a diagonal coming off of that. Now, for all we know, that could just be the 1 wave of the 5th wave. Rather than us assuming that we're going into a top up here, this very well could be just the 1 wave of the 5th wave, right? So we have a diagonal. We know it can either be found in the 5th wave or the 1st wave. So we either have a leading diagonal or an ending diagonal, right? It's hard to know which one we're going to have here until we get more information. But we certainly can dig into the diagonal and get a handle on when that's likely to at least offer the opportunity for a pivot, and then if indeed we're going to continue to move higher, where the next opportunity to be a buyer would be. So just breaking this down here, so we at this point now we have enough information that we can identify that we're in a diagonal. So this 1-2 that we get here, very nice clear subdivision. We get an ABC, and then we get this ABC into our third, right? So as we're in a diagonal, we're looking for that ABC structure rather than the impulse. So it's not uncommon for us to have a technical pivot here from the A wave to the top of the third for our ABC. So from the A wave here, we come down, we do a little dive through the 38, we hold the 50, we push up, so we get algo target here, we push through it a bit. Looks like this upper parallel is providing that resistance. Hard to say what really is causing that. Of course, we want to pay attention to what happened here. So if I look all the way to my low, maybe the 786, it was a factor here coming back to it. It's hard to say. What I can say is that I have a decently technical pivot here as a candidate here. So we've got two ways to measure this. Right. So in a diagonal, we want to look for the 4. The opportunity is from the 4 to the 5 because you don't know you're in a diagonal until we get the 4 overlapping the 1. Well, clearly we have that here now. So we can project. So we're looking for whether or not this is technical. So measuring in a diagonal, we look at the start of the 1 through the pivot of the third, right? And then here we come 38. Now we've just this was likely when the initial reaction. So this was likely the front run on the profit target. So algos that bought here, and that's likely their profit taking there as we get this little sell off that gives us the candidate here for a B wave within the 5th. Because it certainly doesn't look like we're approaching a top here. Now we may, but right now it looks like what I've got is an A wave going in. It's hard to count this as anything other than I've got an impulse actually in my A wave. I've got my little ABC coming down from my B, and now I'm looking for more diagonal type structure here with a target up here of a second algo target at 29.47. Well, that's not our only target, but that's one that we want to identify. So given that we've just now broken through that prior algo target and continue to be moving towards a challenge of these old all-time highs, we kind of look here and think, okay, what are some other ways that we can project? Well, we again, just as before, where we're looking at the distance from the start of the 1 through the pivot of the 3, we want to look for signs of parity here. So from that start of the 1 through the 3 down to the 4, now I project up here and I'm going to start looking for some confluence. So I've got one candidate up here. Here I've got parity. I've got 100%. So the length of the start of 1 through the 3 projected from the 4, this would be 100% of that. Right, and then as we'll just recap here, so the one that I just showed you was starting from the beginning of the 1 through the pivot of the 3. Here's this. Well, we've got now our second algo target, so we're getting a little more confluence up here. So we have a potential hot box getting set up. Well, then from within that, if this is going to play as ABC, we want to look for that relationship as well. So taking the length of my A, projecting from my B. Well, yet again, I've got the 100% here. So I've got 3 things now offering me a little confluence here to propose that this is a reasonable target. Now let's pull back out to the larger time frame and think about that and say, well, would that make sense? Well, it's certainly a candidate for some sort of a significant pivot because off of this low, that completes a diagonal. Yeah, assuming we get up there, right? And we're hypothetical now. We don't know. Certainly looks like the market wants to get there. Certainly wants to get up and challenge those highs. May do it today, for all we know. But it looks like this is not unreasonable. So one thought is maybe we have to put the 200 on there. So get 200%. So that now we get additional confluence here. So now we have a big cluster, a big stack. It's exactly what I want to find. I want to find technical confluence up here, an area where I get the combination of pattern, price, fib swings, both retrace and extensions, as well as some market geometry, giving me a nice big fat target here for this diagonal to complete. Now again, I'm not calling for the top of the S&P. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that from here we've got a diagonal that completes. When that completes, we don't know if that's the 5th of the 5th of the 5th of the 5th and the market top is in, or whether this is just a one wave. What we do know is that the completion of a diagonal means the next opportunity for us to consider is 50% of that. So let's use this hot box on the assumption that we are going to continue to move higher. We're going to get up and get that target. If I can get this to work right here. So that would be our target. So that gives us a completed diagonal. Right? Nothing more. We cannot impose our bias on this and say, well, there's the 5 of the 5 of the 5. The top of the market is in. Sell all your equities. That's not what we're saying. But from what we do have is a potential five-wave structure. So just as we would with any five-wave, we're going to go to the start of it. Now, again, I'm hypothetical here. I'm up here. I don't know that we're going there. But if we are going there, it looks to me like that's a pretty nice setup for some sort of a three-wave correction to bring us down. Could be here, could be here. Here's the 50, here's the 618. Somewhere in this range, we're looking for this to correct in three waves to take us down 50% of it. So that would be the next opportunity that I see for a swing trader. Right now, it's too high. In my view, it's too high to buy. I would not be a buyer here on the breakout assumption that we're going to move here. If you're a breakout trader, I hope it works out for you, but that's just not how I would approach it. I'm always looking for the market to retrace. So right now, what's our best case? So if you're just anxious to be a buyer here to try and catch this, because that's not a bad move. That's 28.61. We got a target up here of 29.35. I mean, there's some meat still left there. If you're looking for the next opportunity to get long, well, you're going to need to wait a little bit because right now from this B low, we've just gone straight up. So there's been not even a small retracement here. Remember, I'm down on a 2 hour. So even if I go down to an hourly, it's just been straight up, right? So you got to wait. You got to wait for it, right? It's just particularly with the S&P, it's very, very technical. So you wait and try and duck in behind the algo. So we've got this little ABC that brought us to our 38, but since then it's just straight up. So at some point we got to look for some sort of a little three-wave correction to give us something to work with here. So maybe we're looking for the 2 or the B of what's going to end up being our ABC. So from this B, maybe we're pushing up. But again, don't know where it is. Right now it's just continuing to move higher. So whenever we get that pivot, then we just sit and wait for the first 50 that follows it, looking for that. Now, they're certainly, again, hypothetical. If we get something like this, that actually now looks like a nice looking trade. So let's just hypothesize here. If, again, I don't know where this pivot is, but if we get up here, so that sets it up rather nicely. That would be golden zone, and we'd be going first target, second target, pushing for third target there. So potentially now you'd be setting it up this way. So from here, you'd be looking for an A, B, C to take you up there. To finish this diagonal, this fifth of something up here, it's a candidate. It's certainly possible that that's the top of the market. So the wave count would support that, but we don't want to assume that. There's no reason to assume just because I've got a diagonal that must be the top of the market. As I said, it certainly could be the one wave of the fifth wave, and we've got radically higher prices still yet to come. I don't know that the fundamental data supports that, but stranger things have happened. So we just don't know. We don't want to make that assumption. What do we know? If we complete 5, we look for the next 50. That creates the opportunity. Get a stop on it, and if it keeps going, then all the better. If it rolls over, stops do their job. If this is going to keep going, and we're not going to get an ABC, and we get a 1, 2, 3, well, then we're just as we would with anything. Then we're just looking for the 4. We wait for the 4 to develop, and then we try and catch the 5. All right, and then if that's going to, that thing always sticks on me. Are we done? There we go. All right. So if we get something like that, now let's pull out on that. Think what that might be. Let's go. We can go to a 3-hour here. So if we were to get a pivot up there, and we came down in 5, now putting this all back together, what's that likely? Right, likely the A wave. Right? If we're going to correct the entire thing, well, it could be the 1 wave, but more than likely, because we're completing a 5 wave, if our first 5 down, if we get something of that significance, that's likely the A wave going in of a much larger ABC that would take us down to 50% of the completed 5 wave on the higher degree. Right? You get it? It's always just waves within waves within waves. All right, guys, probably enough there. if you get this little pullback, if and when we ever do get a pivot, that's certainly something worth considering. Trying to get that last rip. Again, rip of this sequence. Again, I'm not saying it's the last rip of the S&P. But for this five-way structure, that's the opportunity here for this to complete that fifth of the fifth. And then we wait and see what happens. All right, guys. Give us a follow over on Twitter. Handle is Trade Devils. You want to learn more about the education, the university that we offer, you can learn more about it from the links that are underneath this video. You can always give us a visit on our website at tradedevils.com. And on Twitter, you'll find access to our public Discord if you want to just kind of sample what we're about without making any commitments. That's another opportunity for you. All that information is available over on our Twitter feed. All right, guys, that'll do it for today. See you later.